dance partner that was going to make it any prettier.
No, no doubt about that. Well, we wanted to talk to you about the Toronto Maple Leafs decor, which is also not described as an oil painting throughout this season. Right now, Timothy Liljegren has been getting a lot of run on the top pair with Morgan Rielly. And I feel like the tendency for a lot of people is to be like, well, he's not physical. He's not your typical stay-at-home defenseman for Morgan. Is there something about Liljegren that you see that is making the Leafs keep him in the lineup? It looks like tonight he's in and Dermott's out. Is there something that I'm missing with Liljegren?
I think that right now the Toronto Maple Leafs are scratching and clawing at trying to find answers to questions that they have where they don't know if they're going to be able to solve them at the deadline.
Right.
This is a team that's going into the playoffs with extremely high expectations, and I just talked about expectations and what happens when expectations get ramped up. And for Maple Leaf fans and people who follow the team, just even if you're not a fan and you're a fan of hockey in the National Hockey League, you know the disappointment of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you know how much anxiety and angst it created upon their depart last year to a lot of their star players who were looking for answers. So they're looking at playing a very good team in the first round, a team that if you asked anybody would say that could go 7 games and they could be eliminated, they could win. It could go either way with some of the teams they're going to play in the first round. So they're trying to find answers to questions that they're not sure. And one of them is on defense. Can this guy step up and play some big minutes with a player that's going to play against the other team's good lines, and can he hold his own? They possibly like the way he creates offense from the backside. They probably like the way he can generate a little bit more than what the other guys can. So they're seeing if it can work. I think his puck moving skills might be a tad better. I think that's also an issue because when we look at a defenseman, we always look at a defenseman as can he defend? Is he good in his end? Can he defend? Does he know how to read the rush? Can he find the red flags in his zone if need be? But defense is also about scooping up pucks off the wall and dump ins, one pass exit, skating the puck out of the zone, joining the rush, finding the holes, pinching on the walls. There's so many other things that go along with this, and I think that they're seeing if Liljegren maybe has a few more of those, and they're hoping that with some reps he's gonna come along. But I'm not sure come playoff time they're going to get the answers they want with the guys that they have.
The name Lyubushkin has been one of those where really not, I won't even say low expectations. You just didn't know anything about him. He came in with a bit of a reputation for being a bottom paired guy, but tonight he finds himself with a $7.5 million defenseman beside him. And just your thoughts about that matchup. Gary, if I go into my day, especially when I think about the New York Rangers, Brian Leetch, one of the best defensemen in history, had a guy, Jeff Bookeboom, and Book knew exactly what his job was. And I'm not saying that Lyubushkin's Jeff Bookeboom here, but there is a tendency to think it makes sense. One guy's going to stay home, clear the house. The other guy's got freedom to go. Is that how you see it?
I think it's sort of like that. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get to quite the two guys that you're talking about and discussed who were quite a pairing for quite a while. And you're right, Book was just a guy that knew his job and protected the guy that was next to him. And the fact that, Leachy was such an incredible player. I mean, you're looking at the same kind of scenario, I think at a bit of a lower level, but at the same scenario where they're not asking this guy to be, to be a rock star back there. Just do the simple things and be steady and be reliable. When you look at Jake Muzzin, when they picked up Jake Muzzin, that's what they were hoping for. They were hoping for a guy that was going to bring them some size, some physicality, a little bit of swagger, and he was going to, he knew his role and he knew how to play it. Yeah, he would chip in from time to time here and there, but he understood that role. And he's a guy that, they're really unsure of what's going to happen. And I think that's a lot of what you're seeing right now. All this twisting and turning and putting guys into different pegs and trying to see if the square peg fits in the round hole. I think all of that is to try to find some balance. So if they can't make a deal and they don't have room to make a deal or to get the right guy, that they have a plan moving forward. And I think that's maybe what they're doing now. And, same as in nets. I mean, what's happening with their goaltending. I mean, right now, you can score you can score a lot of goals, but if you can't stop them from going in your net, chances are you're not going to survive. And right now, it's quite an issue going on with the Maple Leafs.
Maybe you can tell me what you think of this statistical weirdness with the Leafs. So they actually are first in the NHL in terms of offensive zone time against. So the other team plays in their end, the very least in the NHL. They break the puck out, they get it up to their forwards, they hardly spend any time on their own end. But they're 17th in goals against average, which to me says that the D they have are actually pretty good at what they do, but they're going to spend time in their own zone in the playoffs. Do you think it's possible to have your defensive strategy be play on offense more, or play on offense so much you don't have to defend very much?
Well, certainly, we hear all the time a good defense creates offense, and I'll argue the other side of it too. A real good offense means you're spending more time with the puck, especially if you're good in the face-off dots, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are, so they're getting possession a lot more than their opponent right off the draws. I think those are important things to having the puck on your stick, and when the puck's on your stick, you're not having to chase it and defend it, which, as we know, is a lot harder to do and a lot more taxing, and certainly, the more time you spend in your end, that's really results to goals against. So the Maple Leafs have done a much better job. And remember, a lot of the numbers are buoyed by the way Jack Campbell played in the first part of the season. He was outstanding. And I think that's what they needed. I mean, to win in this league, and Kyper, you've done that. You know what it's like. To win in this league, you need a goaltender that's nails. Not just nails during the regular season, but has another gear come the playoffs. And I think what's happened is Jack Campbell possibly has run out of gas a little bit. This is a lot of games that he's played. He's facing, he's played at a very top level, and the Maple Leafs were on quite the run. But then all of a sudden, at the All-Star break, he kind of ran out of gas, and I think he's having trouble, getting back into form. So it's the same thing defensively. If you're in your end a lot and your goaltending is just so, it doesn't take a quality scoring chance to hurt you. It could be just an average scoring chance, and that takes the air out of the balloon so quickly. And can really knock a team down. And the timing of goals and how a goal gets scored makes a difference. So, yes, they've shown that they haven't allowed as many goals. Yes, they're on the attack a lot. They got some great puck possession players here, and they're killer on the draws. So right there, that's going to add to puck possession time. So they love to be on the attack. That does help. Although I don't think coming out of their end is always pretty. They will throw the puck, they will stretch the puck out, and they will chase it down. They're talented that way. But certainly they've made strides in those areas. But you're right. Come playoff time, when the games are 2-1, 3-2, and you got that one goal lead you're sitting on and you're protecting, or you're behind. And I watched Tampa Bay the last few years win the cup, and whether they were behind a goal or ahead of a goal for two periods, it looked like the exact same team. You'd never know, and they never panicked. And that's going to be a big thing come playoff time, is the ability to be in these tight games and keep playing consistently the way you have to play to win.
We're speaking with Garry Galley, former National Hockey League player and color analyst for Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. Garry, you've spent almost 1,200 games in the National Hockey League. When it comes to deep pairing with the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's looked like musical chairs sometimes. How rare is it when you find someone that you're really comfortable with, or, can you work that chemistry in over a long period of time? Do you know when it's good, when it's bad early? Shouldn't it be you're a good player, you should play well with anybody?
I think a good player can adjust to play with anybody. You're right. And the great players of our time, because they're playing so much, they can't play with the same guy all the time. When you're playing excessive 25 minutes a game, sometimes playing with guys who play 30 minutes a game, your partner is not playing 30 minutes a game. So you're playing with different people, whether it's on a penalty kill or power play or end of game with the goalie pulled, or sometimes in the power play you're playing with a forward on the backside. So I think you just automatically learn how to play with anybody, and you play your game more importantly, right? For your partner, he has to adjust to that person, and partners adjust to their partners upon skill level too, right? And the lesser skilled player will default to the more skilled player and make sure that he's just a good open, make sure that more D to Ds are going to the person that is the better passer, the better player, that vision of the ice. So partnerships learn how to work together, and that's what makes them so good. And if you're blessed with getting a real good defense partner, like I remember in Philly, I was playing a ton of minutes in Philly, and they paired me with a young rookie by the name of Dmitry Yaskevich. And it was like this was like such a breath of fresh air. This kid was a real talent, and people looked at him as a rookie. But after 6 or 8 games with this kid, I was like, this kid's a player. He's a player. I don't have to worry about him. He knows his job. And man, oh man, we had a great couple of years playing together and became good friends. And those are all things too. It's not just on the ice; it's off the ice. When you're a partner with somebody, it really can be a real good product. And that's where I see all this movement of players. And COVID has a lot to do with it too. Guys are in, guys are out, injuries. So you've got to be willing to play with other people. But when you have someone that you play with, you get the best out of those two players quite a bit. And, you know, you look at Brody and Giordano and guys that play together for a long time, man, they become real solid. And that's it's hard to find these days because coaches do tend to shift pairings and lines and juggle lines around a lot more than they did back in the day when we played, where, you know, you could play with line mates probably for a year or two. Now it's you don't score in a period and a half, and the blender is boom, and everyone's moving around.
Bingo, bango balls.
Yeah, it is. Everything feels so